Everybody has their favorite Denver neighborhoods, but on this video today, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys two specific neighborhoods that in my opinion are the most underrated in the entire Denver metro area. Really excited to share this one with you guys, so stay tuned. All right, so welcome back to a brand new episode of Living in Denver. As I said, this one's going to be all about two specific neighborhoods that I think are really underrated, and I can't wait to share these with you today. But before I do, I want to remind you guys, as always, my name is Adam. I'm a licensed realtor here in Denver, Colorado, and I love making videos just like this one you're about to watch, but I really just enjoy connecting with you. So that phone number, that email, all that info down below. I'd love for you to connect with me, so feel free. Just reach out, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email, whatever's most convenient, and hopefully we can connect and I can provide some value for you today, even if you're not considering moving to Denver until a year or two from now. So let's go ahead and get started though. As I said, today's going to be all about these two underrated neighborhoods in Denver. So the first of these two neighborhoods that I'm going to share with you is going to be Grant Ranch. If you guys have been following my videos for a while, you've probably seen a few others where I've highlighted this area in Littleton, and I may be a little biased. I do live in Grant Ranch at the moment, but I live here and I love it. So I really wanted to share with you why, as a 40+ year Colorado and Denver native, I never even really knew about Grant Ranch until I kind of stumbled upon it about a year and a half ago and moved over to this side of town. So, a lot of reasons why I love it over here, but a couple things that I'll share with you. First off, Denver is a city that really does not have very much water. And by water, I mean lakes, reservoirs, just places that not only are visually really impressive and, appealing to see, but also some reservoirs where you can actually use them and go paddle boarding, go pontoon boat, ski boats, whatever it may be. And Grant Ranch is great because you have its own reservoir that you can actually use. It's known as Marston Lake. And from an aerial view, which I'll have some drone footage so you can see this, there's several different reservoirs that really scatter throughout Grant Ranch. Some you can be on and some you can't. For example, some is drinking water and it's not allowed to, touch the water. So there's a big fence around the entire thing. But in Grant Ranch, you have direct, immediate access to Marston Lake. And what's so cool about that is it's literally like 100 feet from my house. I'll even share a video just to show you guys how close it is for a lot of these homes to get literally in 2 minutes from your front door on the paddleboard and on the water. And, I've seen every part of Denver at this point in my life, and there aren't very many places like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why Grant Ranch really is underrated. So Grant Ranch is a master plan community, and what makes it very unique is it's actually broken up into two areas. There's actually Denver and Littleton that both are part of Grant Ranch. So in some areas, you might be in Littleton, which is Jefferson County, or in other areas, you might be in Denver, which is in Denver County. So I'm actually in a house that is funny about this because my next door neighbor is in Littleton and I'm considered Denver. So we have different trash days. There's even different police departments that service the two neighborhoods. But one really cool, unique dynamic about having these two different Denver and Littleton kind of matching up right up against each other is if you are a family, you have kids that are, going into the school system, they can actually choose which they're going to go to. So you have the option of Denver schools as well as Littleton, Jefferson County schools. So Columbine High School is super close to Grant Ranch and actually a very great school, especially just the setting of Columbine. It's got a lot of really nice parks all surrounding it. Clement Park is actually one of the big ones that I've grown up knowing just from back in the day when I was in high school on the cross country team. We had a really fun race there every year. But it's just such a pretty park, but also the surrounding area where Columbine High School and really all of Grant Ranch, just the backdrop is so impressive. I was taking some clients all around the Denver area actually this past weekend, YouTube clients that were coming from another state and coming out here to find their next home. And I was really just trying to give them a good feel for all of the different areas around Denver. And one thing that I was reminded of myself is just when you get into the southwestern side of Denver, like Littleton and Grant Ranch, you just get a little bit closer to the mountains and it just has a much more impressive backdrop with the foothills. And just right now, it's in the fall at the moment as I filmed this video, all the different colors with the aspen trees, all the reds, yellows, and just the mountains right behind that. We actually got our first snow a few days ago as well up in the high country, so now we even have the white snow-capped peaks in the back with all the different fall colors. So just a beautiful time to live in Colorado, and I think you really appreciate that even more when you do live on this western side of town where you're closer and you can just really take on that dramatic, just beautiful view a little bit more than in other places around town. So if you're ever driving through Grant Ranch, another really unique thing about it is there's all of these smaller neighborhoods that all have different names. And as you're driving through, you'll see these different names for each of this, not just the streets, but they'll have, a big curb appeal with, big rock landscaped areas that have each of the neighborhoods' names on them. So there's all different styles of homes in these neighborhoods. One of the neighborhoods that's directly next to me is Belvedere. And this is one of the more upscale neighborhoods in Grant Ranch. And what I specifically like about Belvedere is it actually has its own private dock. So about maybe a quarter of the homes that are in the Belvedere neighborhood are on a street that backs up right to the reservoir, where you have homes that literally are lakefront, but also in Belvedere, you have a private little park with an entrance to the lake with its own dock for any of the homeowners that choose to get a slip there and have a pontoon boat. You can't have ski boats, so you're not allowed to water ski on the lake, but you are able to pontoon boat. You can go fishing, paddleboarding, lots of sailboating, lots of activities and stuff to do. And for some of these homeowners in Belvedere, you literally can just walk out and jump on your boat, literally within 2 minutes. So just, again, such a unique aspect of this neighborhood, which is why I'm putting it as one of these 2 most underrated Denver neighborhoods. There's also some other areas, other neighborhoods in Grant Ranch that have different styles of homes. Another example of this would be Poppy Hills. Poppy Hills is just right across from the Grant Ranch Clubhouse. And what's nice about Poppy Hills is it's a gated, separate area where you can only get in there if you have a code, but they're all a bunch of patio homes. So literally, if you're, considering a single family home and you're just looking at different options, what's so cool is just Grant Ranch has a lot to choose from. Really high-end luxury custom homes to, a little bit more cookie cutter style homes in some of the other neighborhoods. And then also you have even patio homes. So really good selection to choose from, which is another just, I think, cool and unique aspect about Grant Ranch. Now let's throw up a map on the screen for a second, just so you understand where Grant Ranch is in relation to Denver. As I said, it's on the southwestern side of town. What I love about living over here is you have really good, easy access to a few of the big highways in the area. One of those being C470. So, I'm a big concert lover. I love live music. And Red Rocks Amphitheater, again, I might be biased, but in my opinion, the best outdoor amphitheater in the world is only a 10-minute drive from here. So if you're into live music, or maybe you just want to go up there and run the stairs or just get some exercise hiking around some of those trails, you can literally get there within 10 to 15 minutes from Grant Ranch. That's going off of the far western side of Denver on C470. You can also, as you're going to Red Rocks from Grant Ranch, you're going to pass right by Bear Creek Lake Park, which has 1,000 paddleboarders and kayakers and even people swimming with their dogs in the summertime. So it's a nice spot that really makes you almost feel like you're on the beach. They've got a huge beach area that you can hang out at, and you're actually going to go right by that as you go over to Red Rocks. So that's only about a 10-minute drive from here. And then also going the other direction, you can get onto Highway 85, also known as Santa Fe, which is a really efficient and just functional north-south highway that gives you a different way to get into Denver than going all the way over to I-25. I-25 these days can get so bogged down and busy, and you really are just in a parking lot on the highway at times. And that's something I've really seen get much, much worse over the last decade or so, just with more people moving here. And with Santa Fe, it's just a little bit lesser known way to get in and out of Denver. And there's just not quite as many people that live over here that are using it. So it tends to be a little bit faster moving, and you do still get caught up at times with traffic, but not nearly as bad as I-25. And one last thing just about the location of Grant Ranch. I'm not a huge shopper where I need all these retail centers all over the place, but I gotta admit, it is pretty nice. And with Grant Ranch, you have so much to choose from. There's literally, I can think of 5 or 6 different shopping centers all within a 5-minute drive. So whether it be, going out to restaurants or just easy access to places like Target and, all the other big box stores, all of that is literally right out the door and super easy to get to without ever having to deal with traffic or just really many people, compared with going to some of these places in like the heart of Denver. So I just think that's another little subtle thing that I didn't think about at the time until I lived over here that now I really do appreciate and I used to take for granted. So love that aspect also of being over on the southwestern side of town in Grant Ranch. So the median home price in Grant Ranch in 2024 was about $800,000. There are some different styles of homes again, so I can definitely share a little bit more specific data with you if that's interesting to you. Feel free to shoot me a message with that contact info down below. But I do want to just make a point that Grant Ranch has so much different types of housing to choose from. You really can find something in your budget for a lot of people that are considering moving over here. So definitely worth considering if you are just trying to decide what part of town might fit you best. And since it is a master plan community, there is an HOA associated with that. It's not too bad though. And what's cool is you get clubhouse, pickleball courts, tennis courts. The community center and clubhouse has a really cool outdoor pool. Just a lot of community events. I think Grant Ranch is very community focused, a lot of friendly neighbors, and even a lot of other smaller events that get planned throughout the year in each of these different neighborhoods that I mentioned earlier. There's about 20 of them that make up Grant Ranch, and they all have their own little things going on, So there's a lot to do, and I think that's just another thing that I really start to appreciate more and more as I get older. And just you have that sense of community that it's hard to find, especially if you're living in other more transient parts of Denver where you just don't have that same feel. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about safety and that type of stuff. If you guys want to learn more specifics about that, as always, I always recommend checking out niche.com. That's just a good, unbiased website that has a lot of great input when it comes to schools, safety, all that good stuff. But because it is a master plan community, there really is no reason for a lot of these, people that are maybe trying to wash your windows at the stoplights or just asking for change, or just people that are just walking around that you're not too sure about what their intention is for being in that area. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to put any of that down, but what I think is nice about Grant Ranch is it's a little bit more removed from some of these larger highways. You have that Highway 85 and also C470, but it takes a few miles to get over to those areas. So Grant Ranch actually doesn't have a whole lot of just foot traffic, people that are just walking through the area unless they live there. So it really does almost feel like a resort type feel once you get home to Grant Ranch, because it is really just your own private little subdivision, little area to call home. And, I have tons of trails that I take on a nightly basis with my dog, Charlie. And I a lot of times don't see almost any other people on the trails. So there's so many to choose from. It really spreads the community out where you really do feel like you have the place to yourself on most days. So just something that I think is very rare to find, especially as Colorado and Denver specifically gets busier and busier and busier. So one last thing before I move on from this first of my two neighborhoods that I think are super underrated. So Grant Ranch is also very closely located to downtown, or also known as Old Downtown Littleton. This is one of my favorite areas to hang out at these days. It's got some great restaurants. It also has just a ton of shopping that is all locally owned and operated. I was actually over there last weekend with my girlfriend and another couple that we're really close with. And there was these cool like spice shops, and we also went into this other really cool store that had all kinds of oil and vinegar. There's probably like 50 to choose from. All of them you could just do little samplers and taste. Just again, this is stuff that you don't really find in larger metropolitan areas. You really only find in these little kind of cool, cute neighborhood downtown centers. And there's not that many of those in town. There's South Platte, also known as South Pearl Street. There's downtown Littleton, there's Tennyson, there's, probably a half a dozen of these little areas throughout Denver, but I think Littleton is one of my favorites because it's a little bit larger, there's a little bit more to choose from, and a couple of my favorite restaurants in all of Denver. One of those being the Melting Pot. If you guys are fondue lovers, or that's just something you like to do occasionally, Melting Pot is awesome. And also a place called Palenque, which has some of the best ceviche in all of Denver. Also has a really cool rooftop that looks out over the main strip of this old downtown Littleton area, and just a super fun, just cool spot. On this Palenque menu, you wouldn't believe there's probably about 200 mezcals that you can choose from. So if you guys like tequila and mezcal, this is your spot. I don't want to quote me on this, but I think it might be the biggest mezcal selection probably in all of Colorado, if not one of the most in the entire nation. It is insane. So definitely check that out too. And if you guys do, let me know. I want to hear what you thought about it. All right, so now we're going to jump into the second neighborhood that is super underrated. And this is the one that I kind of teased you with at the beginning of the video that you might not be expecting. And this is another area that I really did not know much about until recently. So I had another couple that actually found me on my YouTube channel. So hopefully some of you guys will do the same and reach out. Again, all that info is down below. But they were actually selling a home and investment property on the West Coast, and they were looking to do a 1031 exchange. What that means is you're able to sell an investment property, and within a certain period of time, you can actually identify and purchase a new investment property. Or in this case, they actually had to buy two properties because the one they sold had a larger dollar amount. So they were able to split up that total amount and buy two out here. And with this 1031, you're actually able to avoid paying taxes initially until further on down the road. So it's a great option to build up equity and not have to pay taxes until a later date. So anyways, they were doing that and they had reached out to me, and we were just going all throughout all of Denver pretty much. But one of the things that they were really big on, and I really admire them for how savvy they were with thinking about rentability, because these were going to be rental properties. They wanted to find an area that had a great school district. So as a school, as a family, that's an area that potentially renters are going to be favoring more, but also in a location that was pretty central. So a lot of different types of jobs would find this as a good home base for them to consider renting, and just being in an area that they felt safe. So as I said earlier, I'm not going to go into safety specifically, but check out that niche.com. And there's also a ton of other resources you can look at. They actually identified this neighborhood by using 5280 magazine, where they had top 25 Denver neighborhoods, and this ranked as one of the top neighborhoods in this 5280 magazine's list of best Denver neighborhoods. Well, I haven't even told you the name of the neighborhood yet. What is it? It's called Welshire. Welshire is a great neighborhood because it's right in the thick of it, really good centralized location in Denver, but it has this very relaxed kind of community feel. Larger lots, more wide open streets, and you really do feel like you're in almost a different world than the surrounding areas. So it's very close to Cherry Creek. It's also close to University Hills. It's close to a lot of these other areas, but very significantly different than those areas because of this more family-friendly kind of suburban feel. When I talked about safety a second ago, I won't go into depth like I said, but I will tell you, it actually recently ranked second as the second lowest crime rate in all of Denver. So that's saying something, especially as that becomes a big talking point in the news these days with, just safety, and, especially if it's an investment property and you're looking at this as a rental option. Definitely smart to be in an area that people are going to feel very comfortable in choosing to live in this part of town. Some of the areas that Welshire is really close to include Platt Park and also Wash Park. So some of these bigger names that really draw a lot more attention are really, really close to here. So you could definitely hop on your bike from your home in Welshire and get to these areas without a problem whatsoever. Platt Park, again, is where that South Pearl Street is, that has a ton of other great options for restaurants and just a lot of cool stuff going on there. They have a huge farmers market on the weekends in the summertime, and a couple of the best sushi restaurants in all of Denver are there, including Izakaya, which is actually opening another location in the Denver International Airport this year, which I thought was kind of cool. And again, just a ton of really good foodie type choices to pick if you're into that sort of thing. I just love though how, it really does feel like you're in the suburbs, yet you are like in the city. I feel like I'm in the suburbs with Great Ranch, but Great Ranch, you got to travel a little bit further. I'd say Welshire is about a 15-minute drive to downtown Denver. Great Ranch is about a 25-minute drive to downtown Denver. So Welshire is really in the hustle and bustle of Denver, yet it's just this little pocket that you turn off of, for example, Colorado Boulevard, and you pull into this neighborhood, and all of a sudden you're just in this different world where, again, the streets are super wide. You could have cars parked on either side of the street and still have plenty of room for, multiple cars to be coming and going. It just is a very relaxed type community, which is rare these days, and it really is this like hidden gem. So one of the best parts about this home that I found for my clients that I got on YouTube that came out and found this investment property, and they actually really helped identify this home themselves also, because they were really doing a lot of homework on their end too. but we were amazed at how high the average home price was in Welshire. And that's because a lot of other people are also realizing this area, and it's definitely, underrated for a reason. A lot of homes in this area are actually going through that kind of redevelopment phase where the old, small, ranch-style homes that are built in the 40s, they're just getting completely scraped, and they're building some massive, really nice homes in this area. The house that my clients bought right across the street's like a $2.5 million house. Down the street, there's several others that are well over $1 million. So it's an area, though, that still has some of these older, more original homes, where if you're able to identify one of these that's for sale and hopefully get one, what's cool is you're just going to only get your property values brought up by the surrounding homes that have much higher price tags. So that's always just a rule of thumb with real estate, is you always want to be the cheapest home on the block. And what I mean by that is by being a home that is lesser in value to your neighbors are going to pull your values up. Another way to look at this is you don't want to have the most expensive home on the block, because these other homes that might not be as nice as yours are going to pull that value down. So something to keep in mind no matter where you look at for homes. But Welshire, I think, has some really, really good opportunity if you are able to buy a home, and maybe it needs a little work, but you can do that through value add, through doing some of that work maybe yourself, or just over time slowly improving some of the features of the property and just bringing up some of these features to be a little bit more modern into what buyers are looking for these days. Now, Welshire is pretty small. I think last time I checked, it was only around 2,000 people for the population. And it's just in a great area for accessibility. So you've got some really popular roads that access a lot of Denver, such as Colorado Boulevard, which is kind of the main one that I always think of. So when I was coming and going from this home that we found in Welshire, literally just like a couple blocks off Colorado Boulevard, and you're in Welshire, you're in where this home was. But if you're at the home and you want to leave and go shopping, you could literally just hop on Colorado Boulevard, head north, and you'd be at Cherry Creek literally within about 5 to 7 minutes. Very, very close. Colorado Boulevard has a ton of options when it comes to, again, shopping and restaurants, all that kind of stuff. Welshire also is very close to University and University Hills, so University Boulevard is also a great option, and you can take that east-west, and that'll take you over to some other really cool areas, including where University of Denver is located, and some other really high-end homes. As I mentioned, since I live in Grant Ranch, which was also included in this video, I've been traveling a lot from Grant Ranch over to Welshire, and you actually take Bellevue, which takes you east to west, but it takes you right through Cherry Hills and some of the nicest homes in all of Denver. We're talking $8, $10, $15 million homes. A lot of these are in gated communities, so you can't really get super close and kind of check them out without getting through a gatekeeper. But you literally are going right through that area right before you get to Welshire. So again, just making a point that there's some really high-end areas that surround all of the Welshire neighborhood, and just another reason why it's only going to continue to grow in value and probably continue to be more and more popular. As I said, this is an underrated neighborhood, and I say that because while a lot of people do know about it, not that many people are really searching specifically in Welshire. Most people are looking for those bigger names like Wash Park, Platt Park, just some of these areas that have more notoriety and more popularity just from it being a lot more well-known part of Denver. So Welshire is just one of these little hidden secrets, so don't tell too many people about it, but definitely on my list of one of these top 2 most underrated neighborhoods in all of Denver. So there you have it, 2 of the most underrated neighborhoods in all of Denver. Let's try and keep it that way, so don't tell too many people about this, but I really think these are both worth checking out, and I tried to give you guys 2 neighborhoods that are significantly different from one another. So again, Grant Ranch, more of that suburban feel, really beautiful views of the mountains, great access to the mountains and the western side of town, as well as places like Red Rocks Amphitheater, some really cool parks like Clement Park, and even that Bear Creek Lake Park that I talked about with the beach, with tons of people out there in the summertime. Or Welshire, which is another very underrated neighborhood, but a little bit different dynamic. Again, kind of that suburb feel, but right in the heart of Denver with much more easy access to a lot of the more urban parts of Denver, like Wash Park and Cherry Creek, and just all the other cool stuff that exists right outside of that Welshire neighborhood. But guys, I really want to just close out this video with letting you know, in the video show notes down below, click the link. I've got this really cool brand new relocation guide where I actually have over 20 neighborhoods all throughout Denver. I share some of my favorite restaurants, bars, some of the best shopping in those areas, schools, just really everything you need to know, but in a much more condensed, like 1 page per neighborhood. It's a free guide that I put together and I want to send it to you guys for free. So that link down below, just click that and I'll send it over to you. And also just want to remind you guys, again, my name is Adam. I'm a licensed realtor here in Denver, Colorado, and I just want to connect with you guys. So reach out, that number down below, shoot me a text, give me a call. We can set up a Zoom meeting if you guys want to just talk for a little bit longer, like a 20 to 30 minute call, just so I can learn a little bit more about you. Or if easier, we can always just text or just talk on the phone, whatever is most convenient for you. But I know there's a few things that I can provide you guys with just to add value and give you guys a little bit more guidance whenever that time comes, if you do decide to move out here to the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. You guys, every week I have new videos just like this. I want to make sure you're the first to receive them. So hit that like and hit that subscribe button down below so you're the first ones to receive every new episode of Living in Denver. And until next week, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you then. Bye.